Let's cue the music.
Let's do it. Your mama said what?
I realized that when you said let's do it, I think I clicked on it and cut you off. So it's probably let's do. I can't wait to see what that's like in the playback. That's going to be funny. Sorry.
I love it. I love it.
Well, everyone, hello. It's another week, another episode of Restitching the Tapestry. We are on episode 110.
110, baby.
We are firmly into the 100s now, and there's no going back, right? And I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way.
You're stuck with us now.
Yeah, you are most certainly stuck with us. So we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff tonight. We're basically going to be talking about generational curses. And what we really mean is generational baggage, right? So that's going to be a fun conversation.
So now you have to go to the old man on top of the mountain. You have to get the amulet. You have to go take
the talisman.
You have to take it across. I mean, this is how you break the generational curse. This is how you break the generational curses.
You have to climb the mountain, and at the top, you face a dragon. And your only weapon is a toothpick, and your only shield is a thimble. There you go. You got this.
And there's something about peeing on the salt pile. I don't know. Something about, I don't
know. What? That broke me. Peeing on the salt pile. No, but it's gonna be we're going to be covering a lot of ground, but before we get to that, we do, of course, want to just share what we've been doing and how we've been doing, what we've been up to. So, Ari, what have you been up to, and how have you been doing?
I've been great. I've been doing everything except for my homework.
Oh my goodness, you're so rebellious.
I know. I haven't started, so I have to do my homework tomorrow. So I have to write character descriptions this week. So I'm basically writing this plot Bible, right? This outline of this story. And so last week I wrote the plot of the story. And so this week I have to write character descriptions. And so I basically it's sort of like pulling teeth. It's just kind of I don't want to do it, and then it's sort of I just want to pull out every single last one of my hair. And I also got a this time last year update from my phone, and it was when I cut all of my hair off. And so I looked at pictures of myself from this last week because it was the anniversary of when Ukraine invaded or when Russia invaded Ukraine. So, and that's when I cut my hair off. So I got pictures of me with the shortest hair being yeah. And I was oh my God, my hair has grown so much in a year. And I was oh my God, my hair is so long now. I was what is my hair going to look like in a year if I just keep letting this do its thing? I was I don't know. But I was my hair used to be up here, shorter than yours.
It used to be very short. So what, what direction are you going to go with? Are you going to keep growing it out, or do you think you're going to cut it again?
I'm not sure. I think I'm just going to let it grow for now and let it do its thing. I think I'm going to try for bangs because I don't know what this is right now. I kind of have a mullet going on right now. Or a wolf cut.
I would say more of a wolf cut. If it was a mullet, the bangs would be more pronounced, I'd say.
It's kind of like a wolf cut right now. I don't even know. It's sort of an in between a mullet and a wolf cut, but it's sort of just doing its thing. If I could like spike it up, it's kind of like a Karen cut. I don't know.
Ari, I dare you one night to do up your hair like a Karen and do the show with me.
Oh my god.
And I want you to like insist on speaking to my manager. You have to.
So if I did my hair up like a Karen, it would be kind of like this.
Like the back would be spiky, kind of, or like frizzed out. Yeah.
So kind of like
Yeah. Yeah. Like that.
Oh my god.
I
Excuse me. Excuse me.
Can I talk to your manager, please?
I have the perfect glasses for it too. I have the perfect glasses. I will dress like a Karen.
I am really I need this to happen now. I am so excited. So what have I been up to?
What have you been up to, Donny?
I've been kind of organizing my house a little bit. I've been like buying small things like a rug here and there, a pillow here and there. I just have been really excited about decorating. It's been kind of fun. I am getting prepared to do like to plant seeds for the season for
Oh
gardening.
my goodness.
I
Gardening.
know.
Do you have like how big is your backyard?
It's a decent sized, but not as big as the house that you saw that I used to live at, like backyard wise. Like the house is bigger, but the backyard is not, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. But we're gonna probably we're really thinking we might buy like a greenhouse thingy. That would look really cute. And it's gonna be kind of expensive, but I think well worth it because it's gonna last a while.
Yeah.
So beyond that, navigating a bunch of snow days for school. Like one of my classes is like very behind because of like last Wednesday was a snow day and this Monday was a snow day. Not objecting to snow days. It's just from the teacher side of things, snow days tend to make things very hectic. So,
And now there's like talk of like tornadoes and stuff, whatever.
are we supposed to get tornadoes? When
Oh
are we
my
supposed to get
god. Oh my god.
tornadoes?
I was like watching because I watched this guy named Ryan Hall on YouTube and he talks about the weather. And there was like some talk about some tornado weather going on, but that's like down in like Kentucky and stuff. But like, yeah, there was like some talk about tornadoes and like because it's warming up and stuff. So like they was talking about like extreme weather going on.
Oh no, we don't need tornadoes.
Yeah.
We don't need any of that. Other than that, spring break is this coming week. I am going to still be working, but I'm going to hopefully get some creative stuff done. I'm really looking forward to that. That's pretty much it for me. Do we want to do a current event snapshot?
Oh my god. Oh my god. Here we go.
Okay, so you're going to have to talk about the trial that you mentioned in the notes because
So
I've not been
okay.
keeping up on that at all.
So as far as I know, here's what's going on with the murder trial. The murder trial, right?
Yeah.
So he was found guilty. He was found guilty.
Okay, I do remember hearing about that. I didn't know if there were other like
But like I didn't keep up with it as much as I should have. But like as far as I know, he's found guilty and like he's up for sentencing. But like yeah, he was found guilty.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
So like how has that been received, I suppose, by the world?
I think it just shows that like it honestly these trials always like show like our ugly sides of like yeah he definitely did it like he's definitely like but like it kind of just like shows like people because people get so like involved in that stuff and I was just like you know it just shows like people will sit down at the trial like sit down and watch those court TV shows and they'll just be like you know make all of the snap judgments and just like you know decide before the jury does and it's sort of like you know I mean he is guilty but like also at the same time it's like you know the circus that goes on around it is just so, you know what I mean?
It's like it becomes a spectacle, and
It becomes
because
its own.
it makes me think of, like, remember the Casey Anthony trial
Yeah.
and how that was like such a hugely televised event, and like, of course, people were like
Wait,
really,
everybody was weighing in on it, yeah.
oh yeah, they were weighing in on it. Like, I think that's when like Twitter started taking off and being like this horrible dumpster fire of
It's almost like it was almost like it's almost like he was guilty before proving innocent. You know what I mean?
right, yeah. Uh oh, hi Arby, how are you doing tonight? I am wearing my Godzilla shirt tonight. Ari, what shirt are you wearing tonight?
I got this in Florida. My Madeira Beach shirt.
Ooh, that's cute. I love it. We're fashionistas, basically, and I'm obsessed with that. Um, so, ooh, what else has been going on? We have some Michigan stuff going on
So,
too.
Michigan Attorney General Dana Niesel posted on Twitter. She was just talking on Twitter, just doing her little Twitter do bit, and someone from Texas, a heavily armed Texan, decided to take it upon themselves to do like a I'm gonna get all of those people and start targeting Jewish officials, and she was on the list.
Why are humans broken?
I don't know.
Like, I am so tired. Like, stop being racist, anti-Semitic, anti-LGBTQ plus, all of it, sexist. Stop it. Just stop
So
it.
it's sort of like, you know how the governor was in a kidnapping plot. She was in an assassination plot, and so the attorney general was in a plot. I don't know what it is about targeting Michigan officials specifically, but like they were targeting her in some kind of like murder plot, and so it's sort of like it's just I don't understand. I just don't understand why they target our officials, and just like stop, just get out of our politics, okay? Like just leave us alone. And
Yeah.
it's always people from outside of Michigan that do this too, that just come into Michigan and just decide that they're going to start messing with our politics. Like go away.
Right. RP says, can we throw bigotry into a volcano? I wish. Now, it's interesting you mentioned that because I feel like as LGBTQ plus people, you and I feel like we are in a uniquely safe position in Michigan because of the fact that, with this recent election, like the whole governmental body shifted Democrat, right? And I feel like a lot of like conservative powers out there look at Michigan as being like that threat of an example. Does that make sense?
I
Kind
just
of
feel
like
like I
Florida's
feel like
being used.
people said Michigan is more conservative than it is, and I don't think they realize that like we're actually like pretty liberal up here in
Oh
Michigan,
yeah.
and like we like things a certain way in Michigan. Like I'm from good old Muskegon, and we are one of the we're a manufacturing city. We're a manufacturing
Hmm.
like we have the Republican farmers in the middle, but like most of us are we're Rust Belt. We're Rust Belt
Well,
people.
up north, like where I'm from, very conservative.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very, very.
It's the conservative farmers. It's conservative
Hmm.
farmers, but you get
Right.
along the edges and stuff. You get into the manufacturing parts, all Democrat.
Oh yeah. Like, so I live in Midland, and Midland is like corporate Republican, which tends to be more moderate
Yeah,
usually. Um,
libertarian.
libertarians.
Yikes.
But it's true though. Like, I feel like Michigan has been in flux for a while, and I think the recent election kind of brought things to fruition, if that makes sense. And unfortunately though, like people like Dana Nessel and Governor Whitmer have been, I can't imagine all the things that they've been navigating, like them and their families having to navigate threats like this. Like, I don't care like how much a person disagrees with a person's politics, but like, does it justify going as far as threatening someone's life or their family's life. Like it does not justify that at all.
Yeah. I just it seems like it's a bit too much. It just like yeah, it's too much. I just don't understand like why we have to have that here. Like and
Mm-hmm.
it just always has to be like someone from like Texas. It's always someone well armed from Texas
Oh,
being a
Texas.
keyboard warrior down on old Twitter.
You know what's funny? They usually tell like the LGBTQ plus people that they're the ones being the keyboard warriors. It's like,
I know.
really? Are we the snowflake? Are we really?
No. They did mention on, they were talking about on, we're getting to Fox News, but there was some talk on Fox News about how conservatives need a safe space.
It's true.
I
Except
was
their
like,
safe space is a bunker 90% of the time. It's
uh, but
just
but there was talk on there was I looked at a CNN article today, and they were talking about kind of that there was like definitive. I mean, there's always been definitive proof that Fox News is basically fake news, and that they go to strange lengths to, um, falsify information.
mhm,
But there was a deposition because of the 2020 election. There was a deposition about just the lengths that they went to bring about false information. Something about like Tucker Carlson firing people because they tried to fact check. There were some attempts at fact checking Trump speeches, and they
mhm,
said that it was that the fact checking was making them look bad, and making them that it was bombing their ratings
mhm.
by having them tell the truth. So just stuff like that, and it just like that, but just like damning documents that were just like showing just the lengths that they were going to show just put out false information,
Right.
and just cover up the truth, and just like insider emails and like text messages and stuff, and just like conversations that they had about just like what they were going through to like conceal the truth. And just like this was a CNN article that I read, and it was just like um you know and it's just like I think that like I've known for a long time that Fox News, probably since George W. Bush, that Fox News is bad for your mental health, and that watching Fox News it is going to lead you to a sense of like a false reality or a warped reality,
Right.
because people, there would be people who would just literally, it was just like their job all day long to try and fact check Fox News, and it'd just be like it'd be constant, and it'd just be like that they would just put out so much misinformation that watching. I knew that like after 20 years of watching Fox News and like using that as your only news source, that there was probably going to be people who grew up on Fox News and just have
Mhm.
like become voters that were just going to be like no sense of reality, like they didn't know what
Right.
to do because that's what they grew up on. And so those people become voters, and like so you just think about it, you just think about like people who only watch Fox News or only watch specific news sources like Fox News, and like that's their only news source, and even though they market themselves as entertainment, like you think about it, and like that's their only sense of reality,
Right.
like that's how you get Trump into office.
Well, and the thing is, like, when people are conditioned to watch one thing like that, a thing that's not reliable, like, they have no way to measure the rhetoric of other people or, critically think and analyze messages that they're getting, which that's scary. And unfortunately, if we just another current event that we didn't really write down, but now that I'm thinking about it, I should mention it. Like now we see why academia is being attacked on multiple fronts in many different states, because that as an institution is designed to help develop critical thinking skill and analysis in order to, use those tools out in the working world, right? So
Mhm.
like by not having those, like what does that do? Or by having those devalued, what does that do? Right?
Right.
It's kind of scary to think about.
Yeah.
So I just realized we're 20 minutes in already. Um, so show mission statement. Are we ready, everyone?
Yep.
We live in a dynamic society where social media shapes us by creating greater opportunities for connection. It has led to a developing understanding of the adversity many marginalized communities face, the powers causing the adversity, and those who act as bystanders as atrocities take place in real time. Our goal with this show is to make connections and have challenging conversations about topics, current events, pop culture, and art. Together, let's weave the threads of understanding with what privilege we have in order to learn, educate, and create in a world that's growing. Yay!
Yay.
Okay. Ooh. So let's talk about generational curses. Okay, I guess.
Woo!
Ooh.
Closet.
So, what do we mean when we say generational curses?
It's like stuff that just keeps repeating over and over and over each generation to generation. It's like the stuff that your great granddad, great grandparents dealt with, that your parents dealt with, that you dealt with, and that if you have kids, they might have to deal with too, unless you
Hmm.
deal with your shit.
Yeah, right, right. Baggage all around.
It's like you look at old pictures and you're like, God, why? And it's like, why am I dealing with this? And it's like, oh, that's just something we all deal with. It's like, what's this problem? Oh, it's because that's just a family. It's just all in the family. Just all in
Hmm.
the family.
It's funny because I often have or hear people say that like, oh, well, that's just in our head. Those really aren't a thing. Do you think that generational curses are in fact real? I personally do.
I think that they are generational curses are definitely real. It's in my so let's talk about my family history for some reason. So
I'm
my
ready.
family history goes back to 1638 in this country and goes back even farther back if you go back to England. But
Hmm.
as far as this country goes, as far as this land is your land, this land is my land. 1638, Massachusetts. That's the Tyler family. Job Tyler. He came to this country in Massachusetts, and part of the generational curses that my family has to deal with is that my family was started out middle class to poor.
Mm.
Started off middle class to poor. That's something that we were always scrambling for places to live and places that we were and that super that very uber Christian Catholic, not Catholic, but evangelical. That
Uh,
there's a sense of evangelicalism that just runs through the core of my family,
mhm.
to almost religious zealotism. That there's a sense of like there's a sense of like being a zealot. That there's a sense of zealotry that runs through my family line, and that there are certain people in my family who have a sense of like zealotry. So Job Tyler was a zealot, to say the least, and he accused a man of being a witch. And this was,
Interesting.
and he did this in for two reasons: because he's crazy, he's crazy, and second of all, he wanted to steal his land, and
Ooh.
he said that he saw a bird, something about a bird flying past, and it hit his door. And he said that the reason why was because that this person had sent the bird to his house, and it was he was the cause of this. Um, so the man was acquitted. The man was acquitted, In a very rare case, the man was acquitted of witchcraft. He was not burned at the stake. He was accused. He was
Ooh.
accused of witchcraft, but he was found innocent of witchcraft. So it did not go through. But I am 13th generation Job Tyler.
That's wild.
So, but on my father's side, if I go through, there was a woman who was accused of being a witch, apparently. So there's some zealotry. So I have family members that are Trumpers, that have like
Hmm.
very uber Christian conservative people in my family line. I have people who have mental illness that runs through my family. Um,
Hmm.
that's part of sort of that running line of zealotry that runs through my family. That's sort of like a generational curse that runs through my family. But also because of the poorness that runs that scarcity mindset. Because they started out in Massachusetts and there's been kind of like a slow moving, because we come from a family of farmers.
Hmm.
There's a sense of like always having to like kind of plant yourself down and just not move. There's a sense of like the part of my generational curse is that there's a sense of not wanting to uproot yourself. As part of my generational curse is that it's sort of like not wanting to. There's a sense of like a lack of curiosity that runs quite thoroughly through my family. Like a lot of my family members are not
They're like very sedentary, kind of, not
very
nomadic.
sedentary, not curious people about the world, about exploring the world.
Hmm.
Uh,
Interesting.
so I feel like that it's sort of like that they settle in their home and that's it.
Hmm.
So that's something that's a generational curse of my family too. Um, and then another thing is food scarcity. There's something about just not wanting to eat, but also not eating as much as possible when there's food to be had. Does that make sense?
No, that makes complete sense. I think that's very much tied to poverty. Like, now mind you, for me, I'm not like super familiar with all of my genealogy, because you like really went in for a throwback there back in the 1600s. I love it. But like, I guess all I know about my family's genealogy, to kind of like build some context for generational curses, would be like, I know that on my dad's side, my great grandparents immigrated from Prussia, like in the, I don't know, like in the early 1900s. Um, and like they were farmers too, and they lived in poverty, in like the Gladwin area of Michigan. On my mom's side, my one biological grandfather was half Cherokee, and my grandmother was like, her ancestry is from like, it's like Irish and German, something to that effect. But on both sides of the family, poverty, poverty, poverty. So like there are so many points of curses that run through my family because of that poverty, whether it be like food scarcity fears, or um you know, a lot of these like insecurities with regard to cleanliness, like these worries of being slovenly, to the point where it's like super obsessive. So like there's so much.
But there's something about like body image with that too, with poverty too. It's sort of like there's something with being as thin as possible. And this might have to do with like old media too. There's something about like this idea of having to be as thin as possible, but also well as being curvy. It's like you want to be thin but
Mhm.
curvaceous. It's like
Mm-hmm.
having curves in all the right places, but being slim in all the right places. Does that make sense?
No, that makes complete sense to me. Yeah. Like a lot of like body stereotypes definitely came from it. Um a lot of like I know for my family a big thing which I would interpret as a generational stereotype, of course tied to Christianity, I would say would be um like this need to not be different. Like you have
Right.
like carved out this specific path. You are a puzzle piece that fits in a very specific spot. If you deviate from it in any way, then you are a black sheep, kind of like you are ostracized in some way.
But that's the thing is like my family has started in Massachusetts and they've slowly moved their way westward. So it's sort of like 13 generations we've only moved as far as Michigan because it's sort of like you stay in the vicinity. So like they want you to stay within the vicinity of your parents. So like
Hmm.
maybe in the town or the next town over or like within the vicinity, but not to move too far away from your parents. So like you have your own house or you have your own farmstead, but you don't move too far away from your parents that you can't. So it's like they want you to be your own person, but they don't want you to move too far away.
Right, yeah. No, it's completely true. I just noticed that RP's been commenting too. Let's see. Um, RP mentions kind of like the children should be seen and not heard thing. Oh yes, that definitely was very much part of my family. And then RP says my parents were from Romania and my dad's parents are from Romania and my mom's were from Greece. That's
Oh,
cool.
interesting.
Yeah. Um, so like honestly for me, most of my family like or generational curse, like I would argue would be more recent. Like maybe like within like the generational span of like my beginning with like my great grandparents onward, right? Um a long time ago, like there was a situation where a person engaged in predatory behavior towards someone else in a family, and it kind of sowed like this very deep generational fear of that type of thing taking place ever again, right? And then of course people started equating LGBTQ plus people with predatory behavior, and that's how it kind of like spiraled and spiraled.
Oh, I froze for a second. I think the chat caught up on me.
Okay, yeah, mine kind of froze for a second too. I wonder what's going on with the internet tonight. Ah, technology. Did you get a chance to hear? Did you hear what I said though about the?
Something about predatory behavior and LGBTQ people are often seen as predators.
Yeah, and that's kind of that's where like the fear of LGBTQ plus people came in my family, because then it translated to anyone who was different was clearly a predatory person, right? So
Wow.
it like my grandmother, especially on my mom's side, my abusive grandmother, became like very very extreme about like people's intentions, and kind of like stoked like this very deep well of anxiety in everyone about a person looking at someone the wrong way, or like it was very exhausting, and I think as a kid like it weighed on me heavily too.
Was it just post traumatic stress?
I think it could have been like I think the interesting thing about generational curses is that people aren't always aware of them, right?
Mhm.
And my grandmother was one of those people who really wasn't aware. Like she was aware that bad things had happened to her, but she didn't realize that she would weaponize those things against other people,
Yeah.
like kind of like weaponize that trauma.
Like
So
hurt people.
yeah, exactly. And she would, of course, justify it in a whole variety of different ways, and it became very toxic. But
That's true.
yeah. Now on my dad's side, like I would say that like poverty is mostly just the main generational curse. There aren't really like any other ones. But then again, like I don't harbor that much trauma from my dad's side of the family. It's from my mom's side of the family. So I've like deep dived into,
Yeah.
yeah, like what do you think is the most popular theme of my therapy appointments?
Well, I haven't spent a lot of time with my dad's family, my biological father's family, but definitely both sides of the family have poverty and just mental illness. Just mental illness runs
Mhm.
through both sides of the family. Um, a lot of just it just runs through both sides so evenly that it's just unfortunate that um it's just unfortunate. It's less apparent in my father's side of the family because I don't have enough data. My father's side only goes back maybe a couple hundred years,
Mhm.
as far as that goes, and I don't have enough information about that side of the family. Um,
Mm.
because I didn't talk to my biological father enough. But it's there. Like every interaction I have with my family, every time I learn something new about that side of the family, I'm like, this is just more. This is just more about it's and it's some of it's it comes down to like it's that nature versus nurture argument again. It's like this makes up part of like my it almost becomes like a genetic thing. It's almost like, this is part of who I am. It's like this is like because my cousins on my dad's side, um, they suffer heavily from bipolar disorder, to
Mhm.
the point of where it's problematic, like that they have been hospitalized and jailed because of problematic behavior, like stealing vehicles and doing things that have put them in lockup. It's
Right.
like I'm not doing things like that, but like, having cousins that have uh, you know, unalived themselves because they're not doing so well mentally and they can't handle the frustrations of their life. It seems to be a problem more with the men in the family than the women.
Mm.
Um, that the men seem to struggle with mental illness a lot more than the women do in the family. The women seem to be able to soldier on in the women's side of the family. On my mother's side, however, the women seem to struggle more with the mental illness and not able to handle it as well. So
Right.
that's So I'm screwed on both sides. Screwed on both sides.
No, like it's interesting that you mentioned that because, like, so my maternal grandmother, the one whose relationship was not a good relationship with me, I basically it was confirmed that she also had bipolar disorder, but it wasn't something that she really investigated significantly to get treated for or anything like that. So,
Well, because when you would deal with those things back in the old days, when you
mm,
talked about mental illness back in the old days, they would put you in very horrible hospital conditions. Like
mhm.
everybody talks about how mental hospitals were a thing back then, but mental hospitals back in the day were mostly terrible places.
Oh
Like
yeah.
they were not good places to
Oh yeah,
go.
for sure. But like no, my family, like on my dad's side, recently actually within like the last several years, mental health has really manifested itself. So, like or our struggle with mental health has manifested itself. So I've always been like very conversational about mental health. Um but I would say that it really culminated in 2017. My dad's older brother took his life. Um, and nobody really knew that he was struggling with mental health, and it was like this huge blow to my family, you know? And I think from then on out, like, the conversation took a far more serious turn about mental health.
Like, it's actually something that is talked about now?
Yes, it's something that's talked about. Like, I will never forget, like, I had a very sobering conversation with my dad, and my dad was like, "Donnie, like, I see what you mean now when you talk about, like, having suicidal ideation before and going through all of that stuff before." And and of course, like, there was like a lot of like guilt and regret harbored by a lot of family members because they were like, did we miss something? Were we not paying attention? Were we negligent in some way? And they weren't. It was just, when you think of it generationally, like, older generations, like, considering mental health wasn't even in the even in their periphery.
I think this is kind of related to this question. Why is it in vogue today to break habits from the past or try to break free from what past generations have dealt with over and over again? And I think that this relates to that is because it's sort of like, hey Taylor,
Oh, Taylor. Hey, it's
um,
good to see you.
but I think this relates to that is because it's sort of like, I feel like it's sort of like these families deal with these things, and that this is something that's part of this generational thing, is that we're families are dealing with these things because my family has dealt with uh, family members unaliving themselves. My uncle Danny unalived himself, and then just recently my cousin Bobby unalived himself. It's something that is dealt with, but it's something that, like, we just don't talk about, we just don't deal with. It's just like, it's something that is so then they ask themselves, like, is it something that we miss? Is it something that we just didn't deal with? And it's like, because you're not having those conversations. It's like it's sort of like, the boil is beneath the skin, and you haven't lanced it, you haven't lanced the
Mhm.
boil, and haven't had those hard conversations, and you haven't. So it's becoming more in vogue because our generation, the millennials and the Gen Z, and even Gen X a little bit,
Yeah.
are actually like, I don't want this for my kids. I want my kids to be okay and not to do the unaliving, and actually, like, deal with these things. So we're going to have those hard conversations so that when they're 40 years old, they don't go and unalive themselves.
Oh, yeah, like, it does 100% keep us alive, right? And I do think that also, I mean, if you look at, like, the societal awareness, like, I feel like society-wise, like, we are growing and growing and learning more and more about what it means to be human. And being that we are creatures who have some form of intellect, like, we have to care about what takes place on the mind, right? Because the mind is a powerful thing that can do a whole variety of different things. And I think when thinking about that, like, that's why, like, mental health has become so much more prioritized in recent years, because there have been so many things that have happened throughout history that have gone unexplained because mental health hasn't been part of that conversational equation. And
Mhm.
now that it is, it provides those much needed explanations.
Right.
Yeah. So, how have you been dealing with your generational curses that have plagued your family? Are some easier to break than others?
Oh my god. So the first thing straight up, therapy. Oh my god. I go to so much therapy. So much therapy. So much therapy. And I've convinced my sister. I finally convinced my sister she needs therapy too, and so does my
Oh,
nephew. And that we all need medication.
yeah.
We all need medication. We all need meds. We all need
Oh my God. Yeah. Therapy for me has helped so much. And I do think that therapy has also helped me navigate the weaponized generational trauma that still exists. That, because sometimes it can be weaponized in very subtle ways that people won't pick up on, right? So
Mhm.
it's helped me navigate those things a little bit, but it's also made me very upfront about having conversations like you were having, like, with your family, being like, hey, mental health matters. Therapy is important. Maybe
Like,
you should.
hey, by the way, mom's a narcissist. We have to deal with the fact that narcissism runs deep and long into our family history. Do you want our kids to deal with the fact that we are the products of narcissism, and do you want to pass that on generationally again? No, maybe we should go to therapy. Maybe we should go to therapy.
Right, right. Ooh. RP says, I think conservatives don't like talking about mental health. That has a lot to do with it too. But no, like, yeah, like, ooh, there, like, I like as much as therapy has helped, like, I don't think there is just one all-encompassing solution. Like, it's something that requires constant vigilance, you know? Ooh, Taylor says, my mom is just starting to stop wielding generational trauma as a weapon. Recently, I was having a meltdown. Instead of saying I was being like grandma, she said to me, you're not your grandma. Big emotions just run in our family. So she was trying to like alleviate the situation. It's interesting that you mentioned that, because one thing that one lovely nugget that I have unpacked in my therapy experience is the discovery that my greatest fear is being my grandmother as well. So now part of my therapy is like going through and identifying moments where I am constantly anxious about being my grandmother, and reminding myself, like, Donny, you are a completely different person, completely different human being, you know? I'm glad that your mom said that, Taylor. That's good.
Do you ever have that voice in your head that says, I'm turning just into my parents? I'm exactly like my parents, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm turning just into my parents, and like, because there's that societal joke that says as we get older, as we turn into our parents, and it's like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
there's that voice in my head that says I'm going to turn exactly into my mother, and that scares the crap out of me. The idea
Yeah.
that I'm going to be exactly like my mother, because my mother is is a total narcissist, and that's terrifying to me. To I mean, I love my mother, but like she's also very terrifying at the same time.
Right. No, like I also have that same voice that makes me worry about that type of thing. Like my parents are surprisingly like they're not like super problematic about a lot of things. I mean, when I came out, like it was a rough time, but like I think that my parents kind of have worked toward unlearning that like generational trauma to a certain extent. But like when I hear like, oh, you're going to become your parents, like my parents, like all they knew, because they were like very late boomers, they are very late boomers, is the fact that like they don't really have like a lot of things outside of, this capitalistic grind that fulfills them. And I
Yeah,
always I always fear like not having fulfilling things in life.
that too. Yeah.
So, but Taylor says not exact, but a huge, that's such a huge leap. Um, yeah, like that I would say is a pretty huge leap. No, like even my parents have had conversations with me where they've made like pretty huge leaps themselves when it comes to like demonstrating self-awareness. So, and yes, RP, you can message me if you want. Let's see. Ooh, how do generational curses impact decisions you've made in your life, if any?
So for me, some of the things that so as far as like the poverty and the food scarcity, I've learned it's taught me that I want to become vegan, and
Mhm.
that I want to eat food that nourishes me, that I want to eat, because I was always binging, and then I was restricting, that I had this like weird way with food. And I realized that that was the generational thing, that this way that I was eating food, it was a generational thing. That this disordered eating was a family affair, and I'm the way I'm learning how to eat now is a lot different. That I'm actually like enjoying food without glutting on food,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm trying to like relearn how to enjoy food without just snacking, or like just just that I'm trying not to binge. I'm still struggling with it, but it's difficult. It's difficult to break those curses. But I'm trying to be more thoughtful about it and more cognizant of how I approach these things. Um, I'm approaching exercise in a different way. I'm just approaching things in a more cognizant manner, and I am approaching the fact that, like, not having a lot of money, it's that I'm approaching these things and going, okay, so how do I not just try to scramble and like try to be as materialistic as possible. Like, I'm trying to live
Mm-hmm.
thoughtfully instead of just you know because it turns I feel like a lot of my family members have hoarding tendencies, and I think it has to do with the fact that there's that scarcity mindset.
Yeah. Oh, I still very much struggle with that scarcity mindset. If there's anything that's affected my decisions, it's definitely like poverty. Like even to this day, like I'm at a point in my life where I am financially speaking pretty privileged. Like I'm in a pretty secure position. Like I I mean, I just bought a house. Like I never thought I'd be able to do that ever. Like my millennial brain could not wrap my mind around that at all whatsoever. But despite that, I still have like this voice in my mind where I'm like, Donnie, don't buy that small thing because you might not have anything tomorrow. You might starve tomorrow, Donnie. You might not have clothes tomorrow, Donnie. Like it's like another thing that I've had to really work on in therapy because that's affected my decision making. Okay, Taylor, thank you for joining us for a little
I
bit. We adore you. But like it's I'll never forget Ari, and you might remember this from college. I don't know. But when I went to CMU, like I had my own money. Like I had a job and everything. I would call my parents to ask permission to buy food to eat because I was so scared of like destitution.
My God, I would remember, like, sometimes I would just like, yeah. I remember I would be so broke, like towards the end of college, that I remember that I would donate plasma to get money.
Hmm.
And like there was once that I had to go home to yeah, to for like Thanksgiving, and I was like doing everything I can to like pass this arbitrary, like, to get to donate plasma, and I was like eating peanut butter,
Yeah.
eating peanut butter like by the spoonful, and I was just like, I just got to do it. I just got to do it. And it was just like, my mom sent me home with like a pie and like bags of stuff to like, and I was just like, I don't know if I'm going to have enough gas to get home, but we're going to see.
Oh, it's so wild
But
that.
that feels like a very generational thing too, because like my
Mhm.
sister has been stuck on the side of the road too, just like not enough gas to get where she was going, and it was just sort of like, just that's a generational poverty thing. It's just like, have you ever been so broke like that you had to call and have somebody give their credit card number at the gas station so you could get gas?
I like my My dad has had to wire transfer money to me before when I was in college.
Oh my God, yeah.
No, honestly, I would say like the worst I ever um was when like because at college all the time like your financial aid would cover most of everything, but there'd always be some sort of difference left behind, right?
Right.
And it would usually be bigger than you'd expect. I didn't have any money, like, and I actually like my parents had to take out money from my life insurance to cover my tuition,
Wow.
which that only happened like one time. And mind you, I had like two or three jobs too, and this happened. And
Hmm.
like this is like 2008 or 9 we're talking about. So
Right.
like having two or three jobs at that time was considered like striking gold because of the recession, right? So, okay, let's focus on like generational blessings. Like, are there some family blessings that have passed down to you from your family history that that previous generations have instilled into you?
So I consider myself having a few family blessings. One family blessing is that I have always been blessed with the ability to um, be optimistic. I feel like that my family has always given me the ability to see myself through a situation by just being able to stay positive about something. That it's sort of like my mom has instilled in me, and it's through the grace and glory of my family. And this also comes back to the same religious zealotry. Is sort
Mhm.
of like there's something about always just being able to stay positive about a situation, that it's always going to get better, that it's not, that's not the end of the situation, that things are always just going to work out for us, and that by the grace and glory of God things are just always going to work out. Things
Right.
just always work out in the end in our favor no matter what. I don't personally believe in God, but I always think that just it's that lucky girl syndrome. It's that things are just always going to work out for me.
Like
That
manifesting. I know you're very passionate about manifestation, right?
I am passionate about
Yeah.
manifestation, and it's that's part. It goes back to the thing that always things just work out in your favor. Things just always work out for you in the end, because if the situation hasn't worked out in your favor, it's just going to work out, and that's part of that generational blessing. Another thing is a generational blessing is that I have been gifted the blessing of being able to work hard on things, that I have been given this ability to have a lot of stamina, to work on just to be able to work on things. Um, it's been a little bit difficult since I've been, disabled. Um, I can't work with the amount of energy that I used to. It's been a little bit more difficult, but um, I I still am able to get certain things done. I
Mhm.
still have been a certain level of productive. Um, it's not as productive as I used to be, but I still like can write books and things like that. Like I still like
That's still
I,
productive.
I'm still productive.
100%,
I
yeah.
still am productive. I'm productive for a disabled person.
So for me, I would say 3 blessings. Number 1, like, as much as, like, I struggle with, like, fear of poverty, um, I am very good at budgeting. Oh my
Right?
god, I am so good at saving money and, like, budgeting that I literally have people periodically ask, like, "Donny, like, what do you think? Like, how should I do this?" Larity, what is your blessing?
He's blessed with chicken because I bought him chicken this
Is
week.
how charitable of you. Number 2 for me would be patience. Um, I'm a very patient person usually, and I think that that's definitely something that runs through my family. Like, be patient for like what is to come will come. Like, whatever comes to you will come to you in time, so long as you work for it. Blah 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 blah. Um, a very capitalistic notion, but last but not least, my love of nature is definitely a blessing. My love of nature has led to a pretty vast knowledge of like gardening, herbology, foraging, identification of plants and stuff like that. So like I always tell people, like, during a zombie apocalypse, my usefulness will be the community garden and foraging for things that hopefully won't kill you.
My useful tool is I'd be able to cook. I know how to cook.
So I'll give you the stuff from the garden on our little commune and you'll cook it. Perfect.
Yeah, I'll cook it. I can cook.
That is, you can cook. Like, you are a really good cook. I have not forgotten the time that you made, was it enchiladas?
Oh, yeah.
The dragons I would slay for your enchiladas, Ari.
Although I lost the chili cook-off.
Oh, no.
People did not like my chili.
Well, in my opinion, that was rigged.
I made a video about it.
You did?
Oh my god. So I made a video about it. It was definitely rigged.
Was this recently?
This was recently.
Oh my god, I didn't remember hearing about this. I'm looking forward to the video. So I do have one question. One final question. Well, actually two. Do you feel like you've broken the cycle? And two, how do you feel about like passing on some sort of legacy to the next generation?
Because I am a cycle breaker. Cycle breaker. Cycle breaker. Cycle breaker.
Cycle
breaker.
slayer.
Demon Slayer.
Ari the Cycle Slayer. I'd watch that show.
My latest anime, Cycle Slayer. Demon Slayer.
That actually is a really good anime title name. What about
It's
Legacy?
a bicycle. It's a bicycle anime. Cycle Slayer.
So Legacy, what about that?
Legacy for the next generation. I thought about having kids, honestly. Like I'm thinking, baby fever, thinking about it, thinking about having kids. I would like to have kids so I could pass on to the next generation some good values. I want to teach them French.
Oh, yes. I need you to teach me French. Well, at least help me improve my French, because my French is not good. But for me, I think part of what's influenced my decision, like my decision making, going back to that prior question, was making the choice to not have kids for a long time, because I didn't want to like pass on my family's, any toxic things, right? But then, like, as I've grown older and I've like kind of overcome those, like I've warmed up to the thought of having kids as well. But also I kind of think of my creative outlets as my legacy as well.
Adopt teenagers, they're cheaper. That's what I always said.
Do you think about your creative outlets as your legacy too?
I think about that, yeah.
Yep. Hopefully our YouTube videos will be up long after we're gone.
Yeah, but
aliens are going to come from Remulac and look at this show and be like, what were these two talking about?
Remulac and Romulan. Romulan.
Right? All right. This has been a great conversation. Well, my friends, Ari, do you have any parting words for the evening?
Slay that cycle, bitch.
I couldn't end it better myself. We love you. We'll see you again next Thursday. And slay those cycles, my friends. Have a good night. Bye. Mwah. Mwah. Mwah.